All right, let's call this village board meeting to order. This is number 3116. It's April 11th, 2016. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Abernathy. Kim.
Here.
Norton.
Here.
Rikus.
Here.
Russell.
Here.
Semple.
Here.
Very good. Would all those who are able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everyone. Those who are present live and also those watching streaming online, welcome to you as well. Tonight, we have a fairly light agenda for this meeting, but some very important items nonetheless. First, we will discuss the Jewel Economic Incentive Package this evening. We also have some variances related to Schwakey Stone and other business, as well as paying some bills. All right, so first up is the approval of minutes. I need trustees, please, a motion to approve the Board of Trustees regular meeting minutes from March 28th, 2016.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Kim. Discussion? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy. Kim.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Norton.
Yes.
Rikus.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Motion carries. That takes us to public commentary. Is anyone present tonight that wishes to address the village board live? We have 1, 2. No one else? Okay, we'll start over here on the far right and work this way.
Trudy Balo, Trinity Drive in Mundelein. Good evening, everybody. My comments tonight pertain to the ordinance before the board to vacate a portion of West Hawthorne Boulevard. First, I still hold the position that the Village of Mundelein does not own the boulevard and has no position to sell Hawthorne to the Macon Land Company, otherwise known as the Graham BP gas station. Second, as a member of the public, I do believe that there is public interest in not vacating the property. As a member of the West Shoreland community, which is also a public group, we do find your taking of Hawthorne Boulevard to sell to another public group as being rather contradictory. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, sir.
Ralph Dillon, Post Office Box 908, Mundelein. I haven't been coming to these meetings until recently. I've lived in this community for 30 years, and I never really got invited till last June. And that's why I'm here all the time. I've been reading the paper, but I know a lot of things have been said, and a lot of people can't read through the lines. First article I want to talk about is Jewel Osco to fill vacant Mundelein's Dominic. First, thank you, reporters. I appreciate that you're talking about what the people say and do here. It's the only way we can get truth. In that article, there's a line that says, finding a grocery store replacement for the former Dominic space has been a top priority for me, meaning the mayor and the board of trustees. Len said on March 28th statement, Jewel Osco decision to open a second location to serve the needs of Mundelein community and surrounding area satisfies one of the village board's very strategic objectives. Wait a minute, anyone see through this bold deceit? Jewel's owner, Cerebrus Capital Management, later bought Safeway, which owned Dominic's. That meant they owned the lease for Mundelein's Dominic's store. Cerebrus Capital Management renewed the store lease for 5 years, so to anyone with any sense, a new grocery store was all but certain. Meanwhile, Mariano's, which is owned by Century Foods, which is now owned by Kroger's and is looking for grocery stores. Mariano's has taken up most of the old Dominic stores when leases came up. If Jewel's parent wouldn't have left the store and let the lease go, then Mariano's most certainly would have picked up that lease. Now the mayor and village administrator are giving away tax dollars to incentivize Jewel to do something they intended all along. Good for Jewel, bad for the Mundelein taxpayers who have better ways to spend their money. I don't believe the mayor had anything to do with making this happen, but if you did, please, Mr. Mayor, Make having the sun come up tomorrow your top priority. Otherwise, it will be ever so dark. Another article I read was about, in the Daily Herald, about the fields of Ambria in a neighborhood profile. Without reading the whole article, I gotta say, nice Mundelein neighborhood. Nothing to do with current mayor, village administrator, board of trustees. No community property has been stolen. No video gaming is next door. No truck stop abutting the residential property. No land covenants have been violated yet. No conspiracies to deceive voters of the state government yet. Beware of Mayor Lentz's planning. Another great article that was in the Mundelein Review. Mundelein says video gambling is not part of the Speedway project. The line in the paper says the last major gas station project in the area was proposed $300,000 renovation at the Countryside Grain BP station on Route 6083 in Midlothian. This is only the last major gas station project approved by Mundelein. As of yet, there has been no 3-acre truck stop. No video gaming, and grain stations can still escape from Mundelein annexation when they don't come through, when Mundelein doesn't come through on their promise of breaking the law and giving them land and guaranteeing that they're a 3-acre truck stop, which they are not. Another line in there says, during the interview after the vote, Graham said part of his renovation and the plans for video gambling involved in the upcoming project to Speedway, one of his main competitors. This is a lie. Negotiations for the Graham Videos gaming started late 2014, early 2015, far before Speedway started up currently cited project. Graham put his gaming application in May 2015, for God's sake. Another line in that article, in my conversation with Speedway throughout this process, they told me they are not interested in applying for video gaming, Mundelein Village Administrator John Lebedo said during the March 31st interview. I have to say, Speedway representatives couldn't have contemplated Mundelein would be so willing to give out gas station beer sales, let alone gas station video gambling. Is John Lebedo trying to mislead the citizens, or does he just think they are ignorant? Following through, it says, however, Lebedo said the purchase would put Speedway total property at 2.2 acres, which is still below the state required 3 acres for a truck stop video gambling license. Before these meetings, and I have to say, before these meetings, no one from Speedway could have rationally suspected how much Mayor Lentz and John Lebedo love video gambling. All they need to start construction and then buy another vacant acre, and they could have a video gaming qualifying 3-acre truck stop, a real truck stop. This location, however, the Speedway, is not next to homes. It's not directly on children's paths to school, library, or sports center. It's not breaking land covenants, and could really be 3 acres without lying by the city of Mundelein. Following up, another component to the gas station renovation is the creation of a kitchen and cafe area as well as liquor license to sell packaged wine and beer. The grain station, however, previously mentioned, cannot have a seating area or inside consumption area because there are covenants on the land that preclude this. Also, this represents Mundelein's opening up gas stations to sell beer and wine. Mundelein trustees lied at the Graham hearings when they proclaimed that there would not be any other stations. Lebedo said liquor stations, this is from the article, a liquor license needed to get regular video gambling license, but he had said the state law requires a real retail establishment where alcoholic liquor is drawn, poured, mixed, or otherwise served in consumption on the premises. But he didn't say, or the state law allows for video gaming at a real 3-acre truck stop. If Speedway buys another available acre of land, which I'm sure would be sold, Speedway could qualify for video gaming as well. Last line says, the liquor license Speedway is discussing, Lebedo said, would not qualify for video gaming because alcohol would not be consumed at the gas station. However, Mundelein did make up another kind of ordinance for gas stations to sell both beer and get video gambling. Mundelein can give this kind of license to whoever they want. Consequences for everybody? Look out Mundelein liquor stores and other Mundelein gas stations. Your business will be hurt and might even go under. Mundelein most likely will see even more vacant stores if that happens. Last thing on the agenda, you say you're going to vacate some land called West Hawthorne. That land was never taken over by Fremont Township. It's never been a road per history. It still belongs to the homeowners in West Shoreland Park. If you vote yes today, you're selling our land, and that's theft. I wouldn't vote for theft if I was in your position. I'd vote no, even if I thought it was a good idea. Lastly, every time I give you guys an exhibit, you do not put it in the paper. You throw it away. I don't know what you do with it, Mr. Mayor, but you seem to take credit for everything that's good in the town, whether you have anything to do with it or not, and you try to sneak away from anything that's bad. So I got a special book for you to read. It's called The Dog Ate My Homework. It's about personal responsibility, how to avoid it, and what to do about it. You need some lessons on this. Thank you. This isn't going away.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, no one else? Okay, we'll close the floor for public commentary and move on. There's no presentation or awards this evening, no public hearings. That takes us to my report. We have 3 items. First up is the Jewel Food Store, Inc., the Economic Incentive Agreement. I'll ask for a motion and a second and then turn it over to Mr. Lebedo to discuss this. So may I please have a motion to adopt a resolution approving an economic incentives sales tax sharing term sheet between the Village of Mundelein and Jewel Food Stores, Inc. at 1150 West Maple Avenue.
So moved.
Motion by Rikus, second by Abernathy. Mr. Lebedo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have, there's a representative from Jewel Osco here today, Mr. David Henney, and I'm going to mess up your title, but I believe you're Senior Vice President of Real Estate?
Oh, so close. Senior real estate manager.
Oh, okay, Senior Real Estate Manager, and the attorney, Rick, and I'm sorry, Rick, I've forgotten your name. Fratsky, thank you. The board, as the mayor announced 2 weeks ago, we've been in discussions with Jewel Osco since December of last year, and the mayor was happy to report a couple weeks ago that we had come to terms with Jewel Osco to come and occupy the Dominic space that's been vacant now for, which was surprisingly longer than I thought, was more than 3 years, I believe. But it's been vacant for quite a bit of time. And so tonight on the board's agenda is a term sheet, which is the makings of a economic incentive agreement or a sales tax sharing agreement between Jewel Osco and the Village of Mundelein. And so I'd like to first comment, just generally give you the outline of the term sheet, and then I know Mr. Henney has a few comments he'd like to make, and I'd ask him to come to the podium afterwards. And so to begin with, Jewel Osco is going to be investing approximately $4 million in the store at the north on 176. Those improvements, $4 million, include remodeling the inside the store, equipment that they'll be purchasing for the store, and then some exterior remodeling. And so that total is, they've estimated this time to be close to $4 million. And so the term of the incentive agreement would be for 15 years. It would be a sharing of the sales tax generated from that store on a 50-50 basis. And there would be an initial payment for the first 5 years of $100,000 for a total of $500,000. So there'd be a $100,000 payment and then a 50-50 share of the sales tax generated from the store. There'd be the reimbursement would be for certified improvement costs that they've outlined. Maximum incentive would be $2.5 million. Simple interest would be paid on that of 4%, which would mean that any unpaid balances on the certified costs would accrue interest over that period of time. And there is a recapture clause in that we would expect to be in the term sheet would be in the incentive agreement that would essentially provide for the store, if it ever was vacated by Jewel, then the landlord there could then re-tenant that space to another grocery store after a 6-month period of time where Jewel would have the opportunity to re-tenant that space. And then finally, if either store in town closes in the term of the 15-year term of the agreement, then the village at its sole discretion could terminate the agreement at that time. And so those are kind of just the high level. The term sheet is outlined, is in everybody's packet and online for the general public to look at. And then we would anticipate over the next 30 to 60 days working on an incentive agreement, a formal incentive agreement, and bringing that back to the board for its consideration.
Okay?
Mr. Mayor, could we have Jewel come up?
Yes.
Well, first off, I really like the special conditions you guys put together here, especially number 4 and number 5, regarding, if one of the stores closes, Jewel can't just keep paying the rent to lock out anybody else. And the one I really like is the poison pill termination clause, where if one of the stores closes, the incentive agreement dies too. So, Jewel, what kind of store are you planning? Is it going to be hopefully a cutting edge or leading edge type store you're going to put in the old Dominic's, and then you're going to upgrade the old Jewel? What are your intentions? What are your timelines, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, the board, the mayor especially, as well as Mr. Lebedo and his staff for your time this evening, as well as all of the hard work that led up to this evening. We greatly appreciate it, and we really feel as if a welcome mat has been left out for Jewel to have yet another opportunity in Mundelein, which we're very excited about. As it relates to your question, we're always learning. The grocery business is a constantly evolving type of business, and Jewel had been stuck in the past maybe a few years ago, but more recently we've recognized that the business evolves, changes, brings new products, new services to the community, to the trade areas in which we operate, and there'll be a significant emphasis on fresh presentation. We're getting into organics a lot more than we have in the past. Customers are frankly demanding it. There's a lot of things with technology that we're starting to pursue that won't necessarily be apparent to you as you walk in the door, but there's the app, and then there's lots of different programs that where you can get buying opportunities and discounts and things like that. And really what we want to do is make the store environment warm and welcoming. And if you're a shopper at the old Dominic store, it's a little bit dark and almost a little cavernous sometimes at some points, and we really want to brighten it up. And we're pretty proud and excited about what we do and what we sell, and we want people to see that. We don't want to create a kind of a clubby atmosphere. We want to turn the lights on and let people know how great the stuff is that we sell. So that's going to be a major thrust of what we do here. We're excited. We'll add probably about another 150-ish or so employees, probably bring some folks over from the old store. One thing that has been lost on the Chicago metro area, because frankly we haven't really touted it as much as I wish we would have, is that we have hired 30% of Dominic's former workforce, whether it's from the distribution center, the office, or the stores. Jewel Osco has really stepped up, not only in the stores that we acquired, but bringing them into our existing stores. A lot of those folks, about 9,000 or so people, found out pretty abruptly that they were going to lose their jobs, and jobs they had worked at for decades, friends they'd made for a lifetime. And we're happy that we could bring them in, and frankly, they deserve it. They worked hard. They did nothing other than show up to work every day and give everything that they had to their former employer. And now here we have a trained, educated, and motivated workforce. So it was a great move for us, and we're really excited about that. As far as timing is concerned, we're looking at somewhere towards the latter part of the year. This building is, it looks nice on the outside. It's a bit less nice on the inside, so it's going to take a lot of evaluation and hard work and a lot of effort to get it to the standard that we expect it to be. And you asked a question about our existing store, and that store is currently under remodel. And we expect that will give you a sense of what we'll be doing in the new store as well. And we're excited for the opportunities that we have at that store that frankly we've missed for a long time. But now we're here to put our best forward in both locations in Mundelein. We don't want a great store on the north side of town and a pretty average store on the south side of town. We want both to be stores that the village and the community can be happy with and very proud of and excited to shop.
I say thank you for coming. Mr. Mayor and Lebato, hats off to you guys for shepherding this. I'd like to say welcome to Mundelein. Thank you for coming. And my hat's off to the mayor and administrator for shepherding this agreement through. And I believe you guys were working on this through the weekend even, wrapping this thing up. So this is a little bit of good news we have in Mundelein, and it's nice to get good news. Best news we've had in a while. So with that, I'll stop capitalizing the floor.
And I have to personally thank Mr. Lebato for the promotion. I'll have to let everyone know back at the office tomorrow.
All right, discussion. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So one more also good thing to add that I saw in here was that, did I read it had to reach sales of over 24 million or something like that before we paid out as well? There's like a tipping point that was part of this contract.
No, that was an internal analysis that we had done. It's not part of it. It's just, I think the question is, what does it take for Jewel to receive the full benefit of the 2.5 million? And that's what I referred to as the tipping point.
Okay,
based
so
on our-
there's a built-in tipping point in addition to,
Right.
preventing a store closing.
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Okay, anyone else? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Rikus,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Norton,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you
I
very
would,
much.
thank you. I would just make a few comments. Staff has researched these types of agreements and concluded that, in the Chicagoland area, this is a very competitive agreement that we passed here tonight. And I just want to extend again the appreciation to Mr. Henney and Mr. Lebato for rolling up your sleeves and working so hard to get this done. And our community is obviously very pleased that you're opening a second store. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is an ordinance vacating a portion of West Hawthorne Boulevard. Trustees, I need a motion, please, to pass an ordinance vacating a portion of West Hawthorne Boulevard in the village of Mundelein.
So moved.
Motion by Semple,
Second.
second by Trustee Russell. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Semple,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Rikus,
No.
Kim,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Norton.
Yes.
Very good, motion carries. Next up is the, let's see, this regards the Stationary North Sub-Area Planning Steering Committee. And this is a steering committee related to Doug Farr and the efforts for his planning on the area north of Holly Street. I need a motion, please, to appoint trustees Bill Rikus and Don Abernathy to the Station Area North Sub-Area Steering Committee.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by trustee Kim,
Second.
second by trustee Semple. Discussion? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Kim,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Norton,
Yes.
Rikus,
Yes.
Abernathy.
Motion carries. That concludes my report, and let's go to trustee reports at this time. Public Works Committee, trustee Russell.
Mr. Mayor, Public Works doesn't have anything to say, and Adam tells me that he said everything he could possibly say earlier.
Okay. Next up, Finance Committee, Trustee Semple.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to give a summary. We had a Finance Committee meeting earlier where we wrapped up our discussions on the budget in terms of Finance Committee discussions. We will not be meeting next Monday night. We had tentatively scheduled a third meeting of the Finance Committee specifically to any open items we have on the budget. There are none, so there's no point to have a meeting just to have a meeting. However, we did talk during the meeting about meeting again later in the year. And as we discussed during the board meeting, typically we have a few fifth Mondays throughout the year. And it looks like, well, according to Don Abernathy, we have a fifth Monday in August. So staff has earmarked that fifth Monday in August to call a Finance Committee meeting to relook at existing revenue, talk about new revenue, see if there's other ways to skin the cat, if there's other things we can do in preparation of the eventual tax levy, and then leading into the budget for the board next year. So with all that in mind, I'd like to jump into the written agenda here and go back to the governing body bill approval for April 11th, 2016. And with that, I'm going to make a motion to approve the payment of bills as indicated in the governing body report for the period between March 29, 2016, ending April 11, 2016, for the amount of $703,541.24 as submitted in your board packets this evening.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Semple. Second by Trustee Abernathy. Discussion, please. Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Semple?
Yes.
Abernathy? Kim?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And I just want to thank staff, starting with Mr. Lebedo, Mr. Haywood. We're grateful for all the time you guys put into this, and we know the budget isn't going to be as tasty as you wish, but we know you guys will make do and do a good job with what you have. So we look forward to bringing this to a vote at the next board meeting, which I will not be at, as I'll be out of town on business. Thank you. That's all for finance, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Public Safety Committee, Trustee Rikus.
I have no report, Mr. Mayor, but I also would like to thank Director Gunther and Chief Yoder for their efforts in the budget preparation. I sat in on a number of meetings with Director Gunther and saw the manipulations and gesticulations and all those things that he was doing to try and work things out. So thank you for all the hard work that you did. I have no report, but I'd like to call on Director Gunther and see if he would like to tell us about any of the activities or other things going on with the police department.
So two things real quick. This week is National Telecommunicators Week, so if you get a chance to send an email to our dispatch center, I'm sure they would appreciate it. And secondly, please, everybody, don't forget about our traffic on Hawley Street starting Monday morning. There will be some big detours, so we'll be out there. We've been asked to have some personnel out there on Monday to assess it and help with the direction and make sure things at the schools are going well. So we'll set that over the first week or so for sure.
Good reminder. Thank you very much, Director Gunther. Chief Yoder?
We did have an incident in the shopping center with some high-level COs, just so everyone's aware. We ventilated the building and evacuated the workers out of both businesses. There was nobody ill or anything like that, so we mitigated the situation, and that was the end of that, so you're aware.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chief Yoder. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Community and Economic Development Committee, Trustee Abernathy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I do have a few things on the agenda this evening. First, I have Schwacke Stone, and I have a motion to accept the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendations.
Okay, we have a motion from Trustee Abernathy. We have a second from Trustee Russell. Discussion? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And then I have a motion again for am I saying that? Schwacke, yeah. It is right, Schwacky. Okay, Schwacky Stone, 1440 Town Line Road. We have a motion to accept the Planning and Zoning Commission's minutes and findings of fact.
Motion by Abernathy,
Second.
second by trustee Russell. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Do we have someone here from Schwack? Okay. Do you want to come on up, just in case anyone has questions during this next part? So now I have a motion. Let me get this done and then we'll.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. A motion to authorize staff to draft an ordinance granting a variation from section 20.56.140 to reduce the number of parking spaces for Schwacky Stone from 136 spaces to 50 spaces with conditions.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Russell. Discussion? Yes, trustee Semple.
Isn't this, what we're doing here, kind of a housekeeping measure? Because I think they've been displaying things out in the parking lot for quite some time, and we're trying to bring everything in order. Is that what the driver here was?
It's a little bit of a housekeeping matter, but it's also been expanded over time. So it started off as a couple of months during the year, then like 3 months, then 5 months. Now it's 7 months. So taking up that much parking spaces through that much of the year, it's now where it's more of a permanent takeover of the parking stalls. So.
And this is for the outside display like you've done. And, you know, you've got a very nice business over there. Can you tell us what you're doing, what your intent is?
Yeah. So we are having a garden center that is more permanent. We did have a tent out there selling from Mother's Day to Labor Day. And now we are bringing in, it's going to be its own separate division, Schwacky Landscape Company, so that we can offer the plants and we can compete with the other areas, the other stores around that sell stone and plants. So it's more of a full-time job out there versus it just being a side thing. It'll have its own name, so it'll look nice. It'll be, you know, they'll have their own forklifts and they'll load, and it'll be a bigger operation, so to say.
Will it have its, so you said, but it will be just under the tent, it won't be a separate building?
No, it'll have a tent for shade. They will have a office space out there that will be temporary, I can't think of, you know, just like, it'll be an office space on wheels. You know what I'm talking about? Just temporary place for them to go in and do phone calls and orders and whatnot.
Okay.
You use the term landscaping.
Yes.
Are you offering, is it going to be more than just material sales? It'll also be labor? You're going to have labor that you can send out to someone's house and build a wall or something like that?
Well, we do have plenty of people that we suggest for labor, but we won't provide it ourselves.
So those are recommendations?
Yeah.
And this office that you're talking about, that's a trailer now?
Yes, thank you.
That's a trailer. Is that was that in the presentation?
No.
It was not. We recently got a building permit that provided us some more information. Since it's in the C3 zoning district, we're reviewing the building permit, and if it has to go back through a process, then we may bring it back, but we are just reviewing that at the moment. The current request is for the parking stalls to be taken over by the commercial business that's permitted in the C3, which is a garden center. It
Okay,
is a
well,
permitted
in the
use.
event that it doesn't have to come back before us because it matches code, is there anything in the code that dictates its appearance? And
There is, and we're reviewing that.
and you're reviewing that with the client, and they know exactly what it needs to look like? I mean, you're on 60, you know, that's a very high-traveled road there. We don't want to see just a little old construction trailer there with
Well,
dilapidated
it'll
wood and
look
everything.
nice. No, it'll look nice. We already have our waterfall in front, and we have the outdoor patio that was a permanent display. It will look nice.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Where we're going down from 136 to 50 spaces, will that trailer be taking up, will it go lower than 50 spaces, I guess is my question, where that trailer's gonna go?
No.
Okay, so part of that 136 spaces is going to be this trailer?
Correct.
Okay, because I just wanted to say, are we a little premature
Yeah,
on
it's
this?
still in the same area that was proposed, so everything's still in that area. But now that they're showing us a little bit more detail in the plans that's just changed over time, I think that they've decided over the process that they want to add a little bit more to it. And when you do that, it just changes things, you know, in terms of the building permit review, it will change a lot of things. In terms of the parking stall request, it doesn't change that request, so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Could I please have your name?
Heidi Davis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, that was a quick one for me for once, but I do have a few new businesses in town. We have Brothers Barber Shop at 439 North Lake Street, and it's a traditional barber shop. We have Specialty Fabricators and Remnant Supply at 1290 Town Line Road, and it's a small durable goods wholesaler. And we have the Northern Lakes Art Collective on 741 Diamond Lake Road, and it is a non-for-profit. It is their storefront, and they're looking to raise money to build a 400-seat performing and fine arts center here in the village of Mundelein. So we're very excited about that. Just a couple of other things. I know later tonight we do, since it's my floor, I'm going to take it. Later in the day we have the July 4th parade. So I was going to ask Mr. Flynn, since the parade's on the 3rd, the Mundelein Days will go the end of June to?
No, it's July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and
Monday. Okay.
We always have the parade.
But the parade will be on Sunday, yes.
Fireworks on the 4th.
Okay, I didn't know we were going to go that way. Okay, perfect. The other thing I want to let you know, one of the things that we have as a hidden gem in our town is the Fremont Library. And what they have coming up is a couple of really neat events. Tomorrow, they have the Fremont Writers Group. And anyone who's ever been interested in doing any kind of writing, they meet in the morning from 9:30 to 11, and then again at 6:30 to 8 at night. So I just think that's so neat. And I had a nice talk with Scott Davis, who is the library director. Yeah, I wanted to say CEO, but that wasn't right. And then also Saturday night, they have a trivia that sounds so interesting. It opens at 6:30. It's at the Regent Center. And that goes at 7 o'clock. They have teams of 8, and they have prizes. It's 21 and older only, because it is BYOB. And that just sounds really neat at the Regent Center. Then April 28th, and I know it's a ways away, but plan on going to see Thoroughly Modern Millie at the high school, because that's really a fun show. And they've been working hard. And that's all I have for you this evening. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Next up, Communication and Marketing Committee, Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No motions tonight, but a couple of updates and a couple of events. The next Coffee with the Mayor will be with Trustee Semple, and that will be held on May 7th, 9 o'clock in the morning at Taste of Paris. I wanted to throw out a kudos actually for the Mundelein Police Facebook. Chief Gunther, whoever's doing it, is doing a great job. As somebody who works full-time in the social media industry, whoever's doing it is putting out really concise posts, and one specific, the person of interest post, had 264 shares. And you can't get those kind of shares without people actually following the page and keeping up with what you're putting out there. So great job. The spring cleanup, which is through our waste hauler. Will be on the weeks of April 25th and May 2nd. And those spring cleaning weeks are basically where you could put out bulk items and clean out, your entire house and put it out on the curb. And they'll come and pick it up, minus e-recycling. And one of the things I also want to throw kudos for is last week we had touched on the Mundelein Business Alliance egg hunt, and it was just thrown out there in 2 seconds. But what I wanted to point out was this egg hunt was like the whole floor was balloons, and there was a smoke machine, and there were eggs underneath it. And from a marketing standpoint, what I thought was really great about this was how, this was a great and vibrant event that was put out there for the general public, right? Even people who didn't live in Mundelein. But that was like the feel and the vibrancy of like Mundelein being given off in this private sector egg hunt. So I wanted to give it a little more kudos than I got for 2 seconds last time, because all these things matter. The arts efforts, this egg hunt. There are others too, and it's like it all adds to the fact that Mundelein's trying to brand itself out there, right, and get that energy out. One of the things that marketing is working on with Metra and the police department is this display board, which you're going to see at the Metra train depot. And it's kind of like one of those old school boards where they put like the events of what's going on and any alerts that you should know of in town and the current events. So that's kind of nice. If you're waiting for the train, you can read that and be up to date on what's going on in Mundelein. And today when we came in here, everyone got one of these. And so it's really neat that Time Art not only made a tie of Mundelein's logo, but now there are matching socks. And so if a tattoo is too permanent and too much of a commitment for you, you can you can get a t-shirt or socks or a tie at the Mundelein Village Hall. These will be available for purchase. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next up, Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Trustee Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no motions to make tonight, but I would just like to reemphasize what the chief brought up earlier, that the Holly Street detours will begin 1 week from today. And so be prepared for that. That'll conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other trustee have a report, comment, question, anything under other reports? Okay. Let's move on to scheduled business. We have an omnibus vote item list of 5 items. Does any trustee wish to pull items 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 before we vote on them?
Mr. Number 1.
Yes, Trustee Semple. Number 1. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, then I need a motion, please, to pass items 2 through 5, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Kim. Discussion? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Motion carries. Trustee Semple, item 1.
Yeah, this is just on, term limits for volunteer committee members, and I've never favored these things for our volunteers that serve on their own time, give their own sweat and blood, and especially this old number 1. I mean, the, keeping up an antique fire truck is something, very unique, and telling somebody after 3 years, you're out of here because you've been around too long, I think there's a definite benefit to having some tenured people to, remember the nuances on this old vehicle. And, my thought is if we're going to demand that our members walk away after 3 years, one of you ought to be contacting the Fort Hill Heritage Museum and recommending a new director, because that director who volunteers has been there a long time, and you must think she's not doing a good job because she's been there too long. So I've never favored these, and I will vote no for this, even if I'm the only one. I'll sleep good tonight knowing I voted no. Thank you.
Do we?
Trustee,
This is just, I want to clarify.
this isn't a term limit.
This isn't a term
No.
limit one.
What happened here was when this ordinance was first adopted, it didn't include the length of term for the members. Generally, that calls it out thereafter, the term shall be 3 years. This committee didn't have that, so it has been added to clarify.
They can
That
still
this
be
is-
reappointed, presumably.
Right.
Yes, and I don't believe that the committee members are subject to the term limits. I thought it was the
Commission
commissions.
only.
Commission
Commissions.
only.
Well, then I retract everything. When I make a fool out of myself, I'll stand up and say I did. I apologize.
We've all done it.
Okay, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Along that line, though, could I ask a question in regards to the whole commission term limit thing? Now, when it was brought up originally years ago, my understanding was that it was going to start at that level and then, it may be proposed as a board thing. But if it wasn't going to come to that point, is there a way to, vote to reverse if we were never going to go down that road? I mean, that's the way it was presented to me by, whoever was.
That has to go out to referendum.
What?
I don't think we can just say the mayor and trustees have term limits without, I don't think we can just decide
Are you talking
that.
about term limits for trustees, or are you talking about the commissions and the term limits that they have?
So what I'm saying is, a long time ago, being not that long time ago, it was just a
Right.
few years ago that the
Right.
whole commission member term limit was approached, right? And the way it had been served to me on a plate to be palatable, this is how they marketed it was, it starts with commission members and then there'll be talks about, term limits up here. And so that was my understanding, and that's why I'm asking the follow-up question of, is that something that's going forward, or if not, in which case, the way it was served to me is no longer the foundation.
Well,
Do you understand what I'm asking?
I think I understand the question.
Okay.
The question is, if it's not going to be applied to the board, then maybe the board ought to consider rescinding the actions of the prior board about the term limits for the commission. And I don't know exactly what is required to put term limits on elected officials, but that would be just a board discussion. And if it's a referendum, then the board would have to decide to move forward with the referendum, much like we did with the village clerk's position, in a similar manner, if that's what is required by state law to have a referendum. But the board, independent of that, the board can choose to rescind an ordinance from the past anytime that the board would like to do that.
I think this is a policy of the board, adopted as a board policy.
Oh, it's policy?
So they
Okay.
could, same thing,
Yeah,
but
so
it's a policy.
same action had come back up on the agenda, and the board would take action to amend it or abolish it or do whatever they want.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Sorry to pull it on the tangent line, but I wanted to find out the rest of what was going on with it. Thank you.
okay. Anyone else? Okay, then I need a motion, please, to pass item number 1 on the omnibus vote list.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Semple, second by Abernathy. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Semple?
Yes.
Abernathy? Kim?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Motion carries. This takes us to village staff reports. Village Administrator, Mr. Lebedo.
I have no report tonight, but I just want to also publicly acknowledge Mr. Haywood for his efforts on the budget. I know that he's extremely busy during this time of year, and likewise, I want to thank the department heads, because it's not just the two of us doing it alone. It starts with the department heads, and it ultimately starts with the direction from the board, and the department heads did a nice job this year of recognizing the limitations we had with the revenues, and that did a nice job presenting something to us that was realistic. And then secondly, along that same veins, I just want to acknowledge Amanda on the Jewel Osco thing. Although I may have been upfront, Amanda did a lot of the work behind the scenes, and without her efforts, it wouldn't have been possible either. So that's all I have.
Great. Thank you. Village Attorney, Mr. Marino.
I have no report, but I understand we will need an executive session for litigation.
Very good. That's correct. We'll have a executive session shortly. Next up, Village Clerk.
No report.
Okay, then at this point, we will, I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I need a motion, please, to recess into executive session to discuss pending litigation pursuant to 5 ILCS 120, Section 2C11.
So moved.
Motion by Norton,
Second.
second by Kim. Discussion? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Norton.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Abernathy. Russell.
Yes.
Rikus.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. We'll see you next time.
Can we talk about that? Yeah, sure.